Today, we are going to be talking about nouns and definite articles. Okay, so nouns, los sustantivos, and definite articles, los artículos definidos. So our objectives for today, las metas de hoy, we want to learn how to use definite articles. So definite articles are going to be el, la, los, las. So in English, it's sort of the equivalent to the word the. So we want to aprender usar los artículos definidos, el, la, los, y las. And we want to learn how to use the preposition de. We've been using the word de, but we haven't really learned about it. So that's what we're going to do today. So we have talked about how a lot of words in Spanish, almost all words, have a feminine, or either masculine or feminine. Okay, so we learned about this when we talked about adjectives. We said, okay, the adjective has a feminine form and a masculine form, and it has to match our noun. So nouns also have masculine or feminine forms. So the subject and the adjective have to match, right? They have to be the same gender. The noun also has to match the definite article. So when we read a sentence, the definite article, the noun, and the adjective all have to agree, which means they have to be the same gender and the same in number. We're going to take a look at what that actually looks like. So also we learned that nouns are singular or plural. Okay, so people, objects, we're either talking about one person or one object. That would be singular, right? Or we're talking about more than one person or more than one object, and then it's plural. So just like our definite articles, our nouns, and our adjectives need to match in gender, they also need to match in number. So when we are trying to figure out the gender of a word, most of the time, masculine words are going to end in O. So for example, carro, el carro, the car. This is going to be masculine. Or fruit, okay, la fruta, that's going to be feminine. So we use el when it's masculine and la when it's feminine. If a singular noun ends in a vowel, so for example, the word estudiante, we're talking about one single student, that ends in E. That's a vowel, right? A, E, I, O, U. If our noun ends in a vowel, that means that all we have to do to make it plural is add an S. So now we have estudiantes. This is plural. We're talking about more than one student. If it ends in a consonant, so any letter that is not a vowel, any letter that is not A, E, I, O, or U, then we have to add ES. Okay, so for example, animal, that's going to end in a consonant. It ends in L. To make it plural, we add ES, animales. So if we want to say the animal, el animal, that's singular. Plural would be los animales. So here's a little chart to help us figure out which definite article are we going to use. First, we need to ask ourselves, is it masculine or feminine, right? And then we need to ask ourselves, is it singular or is it plural? So for example, a singular feminine noun would look something like profesora. Okay, it ends in A, so that gives us a good indication that it's a feminine noun. Most of the time they end in A. Not always, there are exceptions, but for the most part, if it ends in A, it's probably feminine. Okay, so we need to put la, because it is, again, feminine, and it's also singular. If we wanted to make this plural, we would say las profesoras. What about this one? ¿Quiénes son los muchachos allí? Who are those guys? Okay, this is going to be masculine, right? Los muchachos. It's also going to be plural. It ends in S. That tells us we're talking about more than one guy. So it's masculine and it's plural. That's going to give us los muchachos. Okay, so who are those guys? ¿Quiénes son los muchachos ahí? Son los compañeros de clase de Rafael. Those are Rafael's classmates. That's sort of what they look like in sentences. Now pay attention, because when we're talking about a singular noun and we have to use the verb ser, remember the verb ser means to be. When we're talking about one person or one object, when it's singular, we're going to use es. Once it's plural, we're talking about more than one person, more than one object. That's when we use son. Son, es, those are both versions of ser. We have to remember which form of ser to use. So just remember, if it's singular, we're probably going to use es. If it's plural, we're probably going to use son. So definite articles in Spanish can be used to talk about a general noun or a specific noun. And it's really important that we focus right now, because this is something that can be sort of tricky, because this is where it gets a lot different than what we do in English. So what do we mean by a specific noun? It says definite articles can be used to talk about a general noun or a specific noun. What does that mean? So an example of a specific noun in English is going to be the notebook. We're going to use the notebook. I'm talking about this specific notebook, right? A general noun would be a notebook. If I say I want a notebook, I'm not talking about a specific one. I'm talking about any notebook out there, any general notebook. So in English, we do use a different word if we're talking about a specific noun or a general noun. If it's specific, we say the pen versus a pen, any pen. In Spanish, you use the definite articles, whether you're talking about something specific or something general. Either way. Okay? So, for example, this sentence right here, it says, ¿Cómo es la pizza? How is the pizza? Now, if we're talking about something specific, this would mean, how is the pizza? We're referring to a specific pizza, right? How is the pizza? If we're talking about it generally, this might look like, what is pizza like? If we're talking to someone who's never had pizza before. ¿Cómo es la pizza? How is pizza? How is it like? What does it taste like? What does it look like? Okay, so we're using sort of the same phrase, whether or not we're talking about a specific pizza or pizza in general. So again, nouns in a category. So if we're talking about what we like, and I want to say, I like pizza. I like pizza in general. I would say, me gusta la pizza. In English, we'd probably just say, I like pizza. We wouldn't say the. If we're talking about pizza in general, we're just going to say, I like pizza. In general, not I like the pizza. So it can get confusing, because in Spanish, they do put that article in there. So it sort of translates to I like the pizza, whether we're talking about a specific pizza or all pizza. Okay? I know that can be a little bit tricky, but we'll see it. We'll see different examples, and it'll start to make a bit more sense. Okay? We'll take a look at this later. So switching gears a little bit. La preposición de. So the word de, we've used it before, but we haven't really learned much about it. So the word de is called a preposition. We're going to learn about a number of different prepositions in Spanish. This is the one we're going to learn about right now. So we think of the word de as translating to of or from. So for example, if I want to say I am from Nashville, I would say yo soy de Nashville. I am from Nashville. But we use it for other situations too. It has other uses. So for example, number one, De is used to show possession. So if we're saying that something belongs to someone else. So for example, it's Ernesto's car. In English, all we really do to show possession is we add that apostrophe S. That's all we do. And then we know that this car belongs to Ernesto. In Spanish, we would say, es el carro de Ernesto, which translates more or less to, it is the car of Ernesto. Okay, so we have to, in English, we tend to shorten things a lot. It's Ernesto's car. Again, in Spanish, es el carro de Ernesto. It is the car of Ernesto. This is a really good example of how English and Spanish, it doesn't translate perfectly. It doesn't. Think of it not so much as words, but ideas. We want to know that that car belongs to Ernesto. We can say that in English and Spanish, but it's not going to be word for word. It's the idea that translates, not the words. So possession, also to show relationships. So if we want to say, they're the teacher's friends, okay, that's a relationship. They're the teacher's friends. Again, in English, we would use that apostrophe S. Those are the friends of the teacher. They are related in that way. In English, in Español, we would say, son los amigos de la profesora. They are the friends of the professor. Again, we have our version of ser, right? In this first example, we're saying it is the car. It is the car of Ernesto. We're talking about one car. One object, one person, we're going to use es. That's the form of ser that we're going to use. Here, we're talking about more than one person or more than one object. So we're going to use son. It kind of translates to is and are. It is the car. They are the friends. Okay, we're almost done here. Okay, so we've learned that we use de to show possession and we use de to show relationship. The third way that we use de is to indicate like a category or a type of object that we're describing. So for example, adventure books. Books that belong to a specific category, adventure. In English, we just say adventure books. We shorten it. In Spanish, you would say los libros de aventuras, the books of adventures. Okay, that's where we would put de. Okay, or mystery movies. Las películas de misterio, the movies of mystery. Okay, we use that de in there to say these movies belong to this category. These books belong to the adventure category. These movies belong to the mystery category. So again, think in your head, de usually translates more or less to from or of. Okay? And lastly, so possession, relationship, category or type, and where we're from. Okay, so again, if I want to say I'm from Nashville, yo soy de California. What version of ser am I using there? I'm using soy because I'm talking about myself. If we're talking about someone else, Julio es de Costa Rica. We're just talking about one person, so we're going to use es. Julio is from Costa Rica. Julio es de Costa Rica. What if we're talking about a group of people? We are from California. Nosotros somos, again, this is another version of the verb ser. We are from California. Nosotros somos de California. Okay. And the last thing you need to remember about de, and this is something that doesn't make a whole lot of sense until we start practicing it, but whenever we have the word de, and it comes before the article el, okay, so if we're saying of the book, it might first look like de el libro. But whenever we have de in front of el, we combine it to make del. So to say of the book, we wouldn't say de el libro, we would say del libro. Okay, and we're just going to have to practice that, and it'll make more sense over time. We only do that with el. If I'm saying, let's see, like that is the color of the houses, I would say de las casas. I wouldn't combine it. Of the books, de los libros. Of the girl, de la niña. Only when we only combine de and el to make del. Okay? I know that's kind of a lot of information, but what I want us to take away, if we take away anything from this lesson, here's what it is. We use de to talk about where we're from. We use it to talk about a category, a relationship, or possession. Okay. And then lastly, we just need to remember that we use definite articles. In Spanish, we're almost always going to use definite articles. And they have to agree in gender and number. Okay? So let's practice that. Go to Google Classroom, open up the assignment that says, it's under week 8, semana 8. It's called definite articles and de. It's a Google Doc. So this is what I should see on everyone's screen. I should not just see the Zoom screen. Okay.
What's it called?
So it's under week 8, and it's called definite articles and de. Right, and we're going to be turning this in, so make sure you're following along with us. I don't have control over whether or not you're focused and paying attention, but I'm letting you know that there's no reason not to be. Okay, we're going over this stuff together in order to really understand it and get a good understanding of what we're talking about and how to use it. It's really important that we're paying attention. I know it's hard with distance learning, but it's very important. Okay, so in this first section, we are picking the definite article that fits our noun. So this first one, we have zapatos, means shoes. We need to ask ourselves, is this masculine or feminine? And then is it singular or plural? So give me in the chat either an M or an F. Do we think that zapatos is masculine or feminine? What do you think? Okay, thank you, David Excel. I would like to see an answer from everyone. Zapatos. Again, does it have an O, or does it have an A? And that's usually a hint if it's masculine or feminine. Okay, so it's going to be masculine. Again, most of the time, if the noun ends in O, has an O at the end, it's going to be masculine. Not every single time, but most of the time. Okay, so we know that it's masculine. So right away, we know that it's not going to be la or las, because those are both feminine. We've already decided that it's masculine. So now our options are los and el. So now we have to ask ourselves, zapatos, is this singular or plural? So give me an S or a P in the chat. Zapatos, is this singular or plural? What do you think? Good. So it's going to be plural. We're talking about more than one shoe. And we know that because there's an S at the end. Just like in English, this is one way that Spanish and English are very similar. In English, we add an S to make something plural, so that we're talking about more than one thing. It's pretty much the same in Spanish. We're either adding S or we're adding ES. Okay? So it can't be el because that's singular. So it has to be los. So to say the shoes, we would say los zapatos. Okay, so go ahead. We're not going to go over every single one. We're going to go over probably the first two in each section, and then you're going to have time to do this on your own. Okay, so let's look at sorry, what?
Don't we get out at 12:10?
No, today's an A day. You get out at 12:40.
Got it.
Okay. So, ciudad. This one's a little tricky because it doesn't end in O or A, so we don't know right away just from that if it's masculine or feminine. Words like this that end in a consonant, you sort of just get used to them after a while, and you naturally just start to remember that one is masculine and one is feminine. That just comes with time. So, ciudad, this means city. So I would recommend writing the definition too, just so that we can improve our vocabulary. These are words that are important to know. Shoes, city, okay? Ciudad is going to be feminine. Feminine. So right away, we know that it's either going to be la or las. So in the chat, you have to decide, is this singular or plural? And then once you figure that out, are we going to use la or are we going to use las? What do you think? Yeah, good job, Justin. Thank you, David Excel. So it's plural. So we're going to use los. Oh, I'm sorry. Whoa. No, I got confused. I was looking at the first one. Ciudad is singular. So we're going to say la. La ciudad. Sorry about that. La ciudad. We're just talking about one city. If it was plural, we would say cities or ciudades. Actually, this one right here, number 7, that's an example of plural, so cities. Now we're talking about more than one city. This one, again, it's feminine. Ciudades and ciudad are both going to be feminine. That doesn't change. The difference is that while this first one is singular, so we use la, number 7, ciudades, is plural, so we have to use las. Las ciudades. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, David Excel.
In that number 2, called that city, I think it's supposed to be masculine. And why is the answer B? Why is it singular instead of plural?
Okay, good question. So in the lesson, remember we talked about how most of the time masculine words end in O and feminine words end in A most of the time. But sometimes the words don't end in O or A. Sometimes they end in a consonant. Sometimes they end in a letter that's not a vowel. Like this one, it ends in D. When that happens, for those specific words, we just have to sort of practice and remember which ones are masculine and which ones are feminine. That just takes time. So, for example, ciudad, the word ciudad, city, it's a feminine word. It just is. And that's something that over time, as we practice, you'll remember, okay, ciudad, that ends in D. So what is that? Is that masculine or feminine? I remember that the word city, ciudad, is feminine. So we know that it's going to be either la or las. The reason why it's singular, David Excel, is because we're talking about one city. La ciudad, the city. If we're just talking about one city, one single city, it's going to be singular. So we have to use la. But then if you come down here for number 7, we've added es, ciudades. That makes it plural. Now we know that we're talking about more than one city. So we need to use las. That is the feminine, plural, definite article. Does that help at all, David Excel?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for asking questions. Make sure everyone's doing that. Either in the chat or out loud, ask your questions. This is the time to do that. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so today, Perry, today's an A day. Yesterday was a B day. So you're 16.
Because Miss Bone told me that we had an 8 day yesterday too. We had an hour long in our movie.
What period do you have? Oh, wait. 6th grade. Yeah. Okay, so you were supposed to stay there for an hour yesterday. You were right about that. But that's actually a B day. I don't know why they said that that was an A day. Whenever you are in your 2nd, 4th, or 6th period classes for an hour, that's a B day. So think if it's an even number and I'm there for an hour, that's a B day. If I'm in period 1, 3, or 5, like right now, and it's an hour, that's an A day. So odd number, A day, even number, B day. Did that help or did I make you more confused?
I'm a little confused, but I think I got it a little bit.
Just ask like you're doing. So you're supposed to be here till 12:40, and then your next class, you will be there until 1:15. You'll be there for 30 minutes because you were there for an hour yesterday. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, let's look at number 11. We're saying the song is pretty. So what we're doing now, we already have the definite article. It's already giving that to us. La canción, el perro, las clases, los hombres. Now we need to decide which version of ser, of to be, are we going to use. Okay? So yeah, good, AJ. So if you can use your memory here, when we're talking about one person or one object, which version of ser are we going to use? What do you think? The song is pretty. Good, Chisamaga. Yeah. Let's get a couple more guesses in that chat. The song is pretty. How are we going to say is? Which version of ser are we going to use? Good. Yeah, we're going to use es. La canción es bonita. The song is pretty. Again, we use es because we're talking about one thing, one song. If we wanted to say the songs are pretty, we would say las canciones son bonitas. So let's look at number 13. We're saying the classes are difficult. Now which version of ser are we going to use for las clases? Good, Khalil. David Excel. Yeah. Good, Chisamaga. Yeah. Son. Las clases son difíciles. Okay. And lastly, let's look at this bottom section. Again, today we're just doing día uno. We're just doing day 1. Okay. Oops. Okay. So what we need to do now, we talked about the different uses for the word de. When we use de, possession or ownership, to talk about where someone is from and to describe something or to categorize it. So if we're saying el carro de Ernesto, there's someone outside my window. Hey Fabian, can you tell Sergio that he's not showing up in my waiting room? Tell him that it might be just because of the connection. I'm sure he'll show up eventually. Oh wait, Sergio's here. Oh no, is he not? Yeah, he's in here. So if you disconnect and you come back and you're waiting and waiting and waiting, it's probably just because of the connection. Sometimes it takes a minute for you to log on and for you to show up in my waiting room. So yeah, keep letting me know so I can keep checking it. Okay, so if we say el carro de Ernesto, the car of Ernesto or Ernesto's car, which use of de are we using? Ownership, where someone is from, or to describe something. What do we think? A, B, or C? Good, AJ. What else do we think? Yeah, so it's going to be ownership. We're saying that Ernesto owns this car. This car belongs to him. Okay. What about los libros de aventura, adventure books? Is this ownership, where someone is from, or to describe something? Good, AJ. Let's get another guess in there. What do we think? Okay, yeah. It's going to be to describe something or to categorize it, put it into a category. So adventure books, los libros de aventura, we're using de to describe something. Okay, so it is 12:15. You have quite some time, about 25 minutes, just to finish this first page. So what I'm going to do is, let's look at these words up here. I know that there's a few that are hard to tell if they're masculine or feminine because, again, they end in a consonant. They don't end in O or A. So for those ones, I'm just gonna tell you. So canción, song, that's gonna be feminine. Okay, that's gonna be feminine. Padres, that is going to be masculine. And oh, this one. Okay, you're gonna hate me, but dia is one of those weird words that just does not follow the rules. It ends in A, but it's masculine. So we would say el dia. Don't ask me who made that rule up. I don't know. Okay. So now you have the gender of the words for the ones that end in a consonant, and for the rest of them, and they end in O or A. So they're a little bit more simple. So please just finish this first page, dia uno. Don't go on to dia dos, just dia uno, just to number 19. When you are finished with day one, go ahead and turn it in. I know that it's not completely finished. I'm not grading it yet, but I just want to see how much you got done. So turn it in, and then once we finish all of it, you'll be able to turn it in again.
Once we finish day one, do you just chill out to the end of class?
Here's what I want you to do in that case. I will give you some chill time, just not yet, because we still have a lot of time of class left. If you finished, we were doing those arcade games yesterday, and I've been with my other sections, just making sure that they're able to log in, okay? Because yesterday you registered, right? So let's see if today we can log in. So go to that arcade games assignment, go to the link, and try and log in now. So you're not registering.
I did everything yesterday. I was able to play the games yesterday.
Okay, good. So we're going to log in, and then you can practice those games again, because the more we practice, the more that we'll learn. Okay? So you're either doing the assignments, definite articles, and de, or you are on Udlu practicing the games. Those are your options.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we going to do the part one and the dia one?
Yeah.
We're going to do the part one. then turn it in.
Yes. So all you're doing is you're doing day 1, the first page, and then you can turn it in. Again, I'm not grading it yet. I'm just looking to see how people did, right? And then once we finish it at the end of the week, you'll be able to turn it in again, and then I'll grade it.
Okay.
Awesome. Please let me know if you have questions.